Welcome to the Innovators and Investors Podcast. I'm Kristian Marquez, founder and CEO of Finstrat Management. At Finstrat, we provide CFO-led accounting, finance, and reporting services to assist clients monetize their business. Stick around to the end of the podcast, and I'll share how you can be our next guest. Now, on to the show. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Innovators and Investors Podcast. I'm your host, Kristian Marquez, founder and CEO of Finstrat Management. With us today, we have Sindhu Joseph. Sindhu is the founder and CEO at CogniCor. Sindhu, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Kristian, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise. So let's start with CogniCor. What problem is it solving in the marketplace?
So CogniCor is specifically purpose-built for the financial services and the wealth industry. One of the big problems that I have traveled, all around multiple continents, around 3 continents. And one of the things that I kind of see pronounced, sitting in the Bay Area in Palo Alto today, is the wealth disparity between the wealthy and the poor. And when I kind of digged into that, the reason for that is not because people don't work hard enough. I think, at least in the US, we are known for being workaholic. So, we work 2-3 jobs to make money. We know how to make money, but there is a big portion of the society that does not know how to put money to work for them. And I think that's the difference between the wealthy and the poor. So financial advisors are usually the distributors of, managers of wealth. Unfortunately, today, financial advisors cover around 30% of the households, the high net worth, affluent, mass affluent community. It does not make financial sense for them to cover, beyond that. I think AI has revolutionized every industry, and financial services no exception. So the focus of CogniCor and the Copilot platform that we have created is enabling financial advisors to scale to more households and probably reach around 70 to 80% of the household, and AI can actually allow that, hand-holding them through the operational efficiencies as well as, reducing the administrative burden. But the most important thing the Copilot does is really be a companion for financial advisors to look over their shoulder, highlight accounts that are households that they need to prioritize, highlight opportunities and risks, and do that task for them so that they can really focus on providing personalized advice and scaling their firms.
So said another way, you have a significant portion of the population where, by virtue of their net assets, it can be difficult for an investment advisor to cost justify spending time. But with the promise of AI, it puts them in a position where they can now interact with that cohort because they can do it at scale.
Yes, exactly. And I think this is one big portion is, college students who are just entering the market. And there is another portion that is really below the mass affluent community. So these are the 2 groups. And I think really you can expand to these and democratize the access to wealth. So my personal vision is, how can we democratize the access to wealth? And, I believe CogniCor is a means to get there.
What was the genesis behind the idea? What inspired you to start the company?
My background is in AI. I spent probably around 15 to 20 years building artificial intelligence solutions, much before the hype around the LLMs and all of those were around. So I'm passionate about this field. I think from childhood, I was one question that kind of escaped me always was how do we make decisions that as humans? How does intelligence work? And it always fascinated me. And I was always thinking about this macro, why we are here, what are we doing here, how do we get these intelligence and all that. So when I was introduced to the field of artificial intelligence. It was just one course in my, curriculum. I was fascinated. I knew that, okay, this is something that I want to tinker with and understand. If we can build intelligence, if we can recreate intelligence, we can understand our own intelligence better. So that was the initial motivation, and it's to this date, fascinates me from that perspective. So the fascination towards artificial intelligence and I would say my extensive travel. I was born and brought up in India, spent around more than a decade there. I moved to Europe, again, spent around 10 plus years in Barcelona and other countries traveling. So I would say I was overexposed to people around, and I always felt very fortunate to be able to travel, to meet people, and to be able to afford the things that I can. And I was seeing all around people that could not afford those things, and I really wanted to make a difference in the lives of people. So that was my personal mission, and I believe I couldn't take a better industry to kind of revolutionize.
I love it. And so I have a bunch more questions I want to ask at CogniCor, but let's start with your professional career leading up to the company. Um, so Asia, Europe, North America, all completely different cultures. How did your time like influence the way you look at business, the way you look at creating a company, nurturing your own staff and clients?
I think I have a human first approach to business and everything I do. Uh, I I do not believe that is probably the best approach, or like the most successful way of doing business. But for me, that is the most gratifying way of doing business, and I believe to lead with that. So this is simply because of my, the way I was brought up, the exposure that I got of meeting people. The more people that we meet, we understand their, human aspects of it, and I think we would be able to relate with that. So for me, people comes first. My employees come first and foremost. We have always a kind of tight schedules, and the employees work really hard, but I think two of the driving mottos that lead our company, and all the employees are aligned around it, is one is give back to society and give back to nature. So these two things are the underlying factors, and everything that we do, we ask these two questions to make sure that we are doing something that is that is interesting or relevant for giving back to society, and we are not disrupting nature. I was blessed with growing up in a farmhouse in surrounded by mountains, and I love being around nature, and I would love to preserve that as well.
Fantastic. I love it. And I think having that vision and being able to incorporate it into your company is great. My experience.
And I have always felt that, when you lead with certain vision, like, people aligned with that vision always, come together, and uh, you don't need extensive HR and, human resource management that are artificially created. Like, it is people are aligned, and, I am blessed and fortunate to have a team that is like, come a long way with us. Like, in India, and my team is primarily based in India. I also have a team in the US. But it is a very competitive market, and you see people being with CogniCor for a number of years, and I'm very blessed to have that.
Um, Words out of my mouth. I agree. I think I've seen a lot of founders who have a very clear vision, and when they're able to share that, uh, you're able to attract and more likely retain a group that makes it easier to scale because there's alignment. Did you always know that that was going to be the case, or did it work naturally?
I always knew that, any decision that I make, um, I should have my conscience clear. Like, um, first I wanted to practice before I preach. So everything I do, I want to make sure I am doing it first before I force anybody else to do it. So I want to lead by example. That was always like, I'm someone who speaks a lot less than, I act like. So I'm an introvert. I don't, speak a lot. But people can follow my actions, be it my kids, my colleagues, they know, they are fully aligned with, they are very clear, like, of what I think, where my vision is. And I think it's because of my actions. So I want to go to sleep very peacefully at night. So that's one of my primary criteria. If I do something that is against my conscience, I may not be able to do that. So I can run a business that is, extremely successful, but, compromise on my values and vision. I think that's something, because of that, I sometimes feel um, the business owners and, extremely successful business people are at the edge of these things. Like, that's what I kind of came to the conclusion. I'm not sure if that is the case, but uh, but for me, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, my experience has been that the necessary ingredient is faith. If there's a spiritual aspect where you believe that things will work out if you do the right thing, they generally do. I mean, the time frame may not be what you're looking for, but in the long run, I agree with you. My experience has been consistent. Do the right thing and things will work out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, we were talking about before the show started, you have a doctorate. And commend you on your commitment to learning. What did you get your PhD in?
In artificial intelligence. So it was kind of unheard of at that time when it's around 10 years back. Like, not many people did PhD in artificial intelligence, but I was somebody who was always clear about what I wanted to do. I know that there are a lot of people, like, some of my when I talk to younger people now, they are sometimes confused, and I think it's a very natural um, tendency to be confused at an early age. I was the opposite. I don't know why. I was always very clear what I wanted to do. And maybe I didn't explore enough, but I was fascinated by mathematics. And I always wanted to, be work around it. And I had a very logical, like, I could conceptualize everything that I kind of, if I have a new problem, I see it in the mathematical sense. So it was amazing for me to work in that field, and artificial intelligence was something similar. So I was clear I wanted to, research and build this kind of systems early on, and I pursued that path. I did my PhD in from Barcelona. It was under the Artificial Intelligence Research Institute, which was under the Ministry of Sciences in Spain. We were part of a European framework project funded by the European Union, which means I got to collaborate with around six universities in six different countries in Europe and travel extensively. It was an amazing time, not only doing my research, but also learning about different cultures and interacting with people all around Europe.
Um, that sounds amazing. And I mean, kudos to you for having the foresight to devote yourself to the space a decade ago. I'm sure there's a lot of people who wish they were in your shoes, but no time like the present. So I got some. I think you may imagine what I'm going to ask next. What's your opinion? What does the future have in store as far as AI goes? I mean, it's been what, 2.5 years since OpenAI released ChatGPT. I don't know that it's necessarily a household name, but it's getting there. I can only imagine that in 10, 20, 30 years from now, we haven't seen anything yet. I'd love to know your opinion.
Yeah, I think AI is a, as anybody's guess, it's the next revolution that, human race has encountered. Um, and AI is going to influence and define the way, humans are going to live. Our, social life, our social fabric, everything is going to be affected by or influenced by AI. So I have a, like, usually when people say, when internet came around, when computers came around, people would say, like, you are going to lose all the jobs, and everything is going to be replaced. I did not have that notion, but this time around, there is the speed at which AI is replacing or augmenting human experience is something that we haven't seen in the previous revolutions. So I think AI is going to have an outproportioned influence on human life and work as we define today. I see personally as this as a great thing, because I'm someone who is, always thinking about the macro aspects of human life. And one of the things that, when I read the history, when we, as hunters and gatherers, we did not have a schedule. We were like, growing in a way that was like, we could just wander around and, organize our day. But then when the Industrial Revolution happened, we became kind of a cog in the wheel. Um, I don't know if humans are meant to be that, like, kind of that cog in the wheel. And all the other, revolutions that followed, we became more and more, kind of became slaves of that work. I think work as such is a great thing. We are all like, kind of somehow um, should be working in one thing or the other, but AI is going to liberate us from that cog in the wheel, that slave nature of work. And our identity needs to be much more than, what we associate. I'm Dr. Sindhu Joseph. I have a PhD. I am a CEO and founder. I need to have a broader identity, and we as a society needs to kind of come to terms with, or like, understand what we want to do beyond work, who are we as a society beyond our identity towards work. So I truly believe, we need to have those kind of discussions. But that doesn't mean the work is going away as such. I
Sure.
think the nature of work will be, redefined.
It's interesting. I agree with you. And I do think there's going to be a liberation that takes place, especially as robotics advance. And, we see the ability to transfer a lot of tasks to the robots. I am curious though, obviously Neuralink in its infancy. And now you see a lot of people who are talking about we haven't seen anything. Wait till there's an actual, commercialization of a human interface. Do you have an opinion yet? Net negative, net positive?
I think uh, I have a dual mode, one that is, deeply embedded in technology, and one that is, extremely human, and natural. Like, I am most myself when I'm surrounded by nature, and I feel that, we had a lot of, advances in technology. Like, we have social media, we have all of those things that kind of bombarded our life. um, I think as technologists, we get excited about every incremental advancement. It is a progress. It's amazing technology that we are putting it out there. One of the things that we often forget to think is, like, in the longer term, how that gets, how that affects us, how that influences our lives and so on. I wish, people put more thought into it. And the Neuralink and it existed much before. Like I was 20 years back, or even before, I met the first cyborg. It was called a cyborg, which was like half human, half machine, where a chip was embedded into that person, and he could communicate by thinking, and make his wife's necklace change color and things like that. So it was amazing to see that person face to face 20 plus years back. So I think we always were fascinated by that technology, and it would continue to evolve. It has a huge place in health, like in bridging the gap between like if you have a certain defects, you have those problems can be very well solved with those technologies. Personally, I don't want to meddle with human brain, if just to improve and augment our capability. It is something that I feel fascinated by nature and our natural life. And I feel there are consequences that we don't see, um, uh, that might exist if we just look at the technological side of it.
Yeah, I think there's a fork in the road coming, and you're going to find a lot of people on your side, and then there's going to be a whole host of people who think they're going to have to get implants in order to be competitive. And
Yeah, it is going to be hard to compete, if you have somebody who's implanted the entire, Wikipedia into their brain, and, or even ChatGPT into their brain. So it's going to be amazing to see how that is going to play out. But I think we are, playing too much into our own life and existence, and it's not always proven to be the right. Humans are not always sensible from that standpoint.
um, if past is prologue, I agree. Um, Before I come back to CogniCor, if there are any members of our audience, students or professionals who are interested in pursuing uh, artificial intelligence and they need to start learning, where would you suggest they start?
Yeah, today there are, like, more than sufficient means in the, like, in the internet for people to start. I feel, studying a formal degree in, data sciences or AI itself, or computer science with certain specialization in artificial intelligence is a great idea. But, people who have passed that stage, I think there are a huge number of online resources available. And one thing that um, the evolution of the technology itself done to us is, like, we don't need to understand a lot of AI to be able to, you know, um, I kind of lose my relevance now, because we don't need AI scientists to work with AI systems or build AI systems and all that. So I one of the places that I always recommend young people and students to kind of focus their attention on the domain knowledge. That is something that um, AI becomes a commodity. Like, you can really build those systems once you know what to build. So if you are interested in studying geography, for example, or, like, build a system that manages geographical information and things like that, you need to first understand the layers of the those geographical aspects better. Or, even in my own domain, like financial services, um, I couldn't build a copilot for financial advisors without knowing the nuances of wealth management. So learning that domain is your biggest asset. And it's not sufficient to say, I can ask any questions to ChatGPT and it would give me an answer. Why should I learn that? But actually doing and actually practicing that domain and learning and understanding has a different feel, different level of expertise that you will gain, and you can apply AI to that. So I would say AI exposure is amazing, but combine that with the domain skill, domain knowledge.
You know, I think that makes great sense. And the way as I listen to you, the way I'm thinking about it is appreciate there's a difference between AI as a tool, and you can spend time there. And there are lots of companies who are focused on the development of tools, but understand there's also the application. And
Exactly.
every single industry can benefit, I'm sure, can benefit from artificial intelligence. It's just how are you going to apply the tool? So make a decision of, or at least be cognizant of you have a choice. Accumulate domain.
And also the like we had a specific software industry before because software was made by specialized teams, uh, be it for any industry. So we had a wing of software engineers who are building for different industries. Now AI has made it so easy for people who has domain knowledge to build software. So the biggest threat that software engineers and AI engineers created is for themselves. Like that they are the ones who are going away first. In and the every industry is going to absorb building systems on their own, or like domain specific companies are going to build, or like domain specialized tech, vertical tech is going to take over because they need to understand the domain and they build for the domain. So I think there is a significant shift coming there.
It's interesting to see if the pendulum swings back. I was looking at someone had published the percentage of doctorates or founders with doctorates in the last 3 or 4 years of Y Combinator cohorts, and it's been increasing. But I mean, you make a great point. It, does the technology advance so fast that it kind of obviates?
Uh, uh, One example I can give, previously, maybe few years, up to few years back, which were the most wanted, most sexiest companies in the US. Like if I were the top engineer, I would be going to Google's, Apple's, Nvidia's of the world. Today, where would they go? They would, there was a recent article in Wall Street where the top talent is um, moving to financial services, Morgan Stanley's, JP Morgan's of the world. So and that's just the creamy layer. And now, like as every industry will figure that out, that they can actually build their own tech, because it's so easy to write code and build technology and so on. So I think the talent would get attracted there. So yes, it's true that people with you still need AI engineers and core companies to build more technology and similar next revolution of maybe not AI, maybe blockchain, maybe something else. But there is a sufficient shift in the application layer to those domains.
It makes good sense. And CogniCor is a great example. So I got some questions on the product. In simplest terms, financial advisors, usually when they're having conversations with their clients, it's around return, risk, time horizon being, three key variables. Understanding that can be very personal depending on who the client is. How is CogniCor bridging the gap between the advisor's domain expertise and the unique profile of the individual clients?
Yeah, so let me take that back a little bit, the to talk about the industry. So wealth management has been like although there is a huge AUM that is managed by this industry, it's been kind of neglected by the mainstream development. And one reason is it's highly regulated. You simply cannot put a technology there and expect it to take off because there is huge amount of regulation around it. And there are also very archaic systems that, that are run on COBOL and other, legacy platforms that is still working today, that's doing the trading in seconds and microseconds and all that. So with that context, what kind of was built around the wealth industry was a very highly fragmented tech stack. So financial advisors today manage their clients by switching between around 10 systems. That is the cream layer. And then if they want to kind of go a little bit deeper, there is 50 other platforms that they need to kind of swivel chair to kind of understand what is happening with their client household. There is a lot of what I call the LLM babies or the new AI companies that are, mushrooming out. That produces, it is all fast growing, but, they focus on a point solution, which is, do you want a note taker for financial advisors? You have an AI note taker. You want a scheduler for financial advisors? You have an AI scheduler. You want an onboarding solution? You have an AI onboarding platform. So these kind of point solutions. So I think the understanding of AI for many is, okay, I can build these things, and that is going to help in some way, but it is also going to create another layer of fragmentation. So we are dealing with a fragmented tech stack that was built in the last couple of decades. In another 20 years, we will find, instead of 10 platforms, we would find 25 platforms. That is AI created tech fragmentation, AI fragmentation. So what CogniCor's approach is, not to create that, AI fragmentation. AI is capable of much bigger things. And instead of using it as a Ferrari, people use it as a car to drive to their grocery store and things like that. So I want to use its full potential and use AI to federate between these fragmented systems to create a unified intelligence layer. We pull data from, let's say around 6, 7 core systems, like your financial planning system, your portfolio management system, your custodian platform, your CRM, your interaction data, your compliance system. So AI has the ability to process both structured, unstructured, semi-structured, everything in between. So you can read this information in real time and then provide a unified 360 view of the client household in front of the advisor. So imagine an advisor going into a meeting in 2 hours. They can simply do one click, and this dashboard, amazing dashboard, will appear in front of the advisor that will give the client, give the advisor an overview of everything that is happening in the client household's life, starting with, what's the name of the pet, to what are their long-term investment priorities. Do they have any health risks that are, imminent, or do they have any vacation plans? How are they doing in terms of cash flow? Will they have sufficient income in retirement? All of these things in one single dashboard, and you can also interact with it, ask questions, and does my client have any gap in insurance? Did they have any tax loss, tax gain events that I should be aware of? So you can interact with it and really create that holistic experience: health, financials, interest, personal aspects, everything built together. So I think it would be an amazing partner tool for financial advisors that they can create that personalized advice. So although financial advice is supposed to be like studying the household and providing a really personal advice, the state of the art is different. Like you have most advisors, you have a 60-40 allocation. Your assumption is every client will live up to 90 years, and you plan based on that. Um, AI can change all that. AI can really create a holistic view of the household that provide recommendations, highlight
Mm.
opportunities, highlight risks. That, of course, the advisors can vet these things and make sure, like, it is relevant for the conversation or relevant immediately, and pick and choose. But these are created by the AI system, and you imagine the scale at which this personalized advice can go.
So I mean, as I listen to you, it makes complete sense that there are a whole host of fragmented data silos that need to be consolidated in order to create a more accurate profile of a household. And then by programming what the domain knowledge of an advisor, shorten the amount of time that it takes to at least get to the point where you can start providing counsel. I'm curious, have you have avatars on your roadmap to, because I would imagine one of the longest poles in the tent is simply the time that an advisor needs to spend with a client, but an avatar could help assist solve a portion of that as well.
Um, yeah, I am I want to leave the last mile to the humans. And I think, we are um, great at that. That's one of the concerns that I have with, robo advising and all that. Like, while AI can do a lot of it, I think, humans have certain abilities, certain compassion, certain empathy that can package all of this. Like, we are great communicators from that standpoint, and we can we have certain sense that we can make sure that certain things are communicated, certain things are should not be, and how to package information. So I think humans should be the deliverer of information, and how to interact with that household and person, while AI does a lot of other things.
In hindsight, I don't think I should have asked that because I should have anticipated your response, just knowing how strong you feel about us as being humans. So you're very consistent.
Yes,
Uh,
I am.
Sindhu, I've genuinely enjoyed having you on the podcast. Tremendous amount of insights. Thank you for sharing. Before we wrap up, one of the questions I love is just kind of it's a retrospective. And if you had an opportunity to go back, have a conversation with yourself when you were younger, what would you share?
um, I, I would say I was very naive. Like, while I did have a lot of excitement about the power of technology and what is the possibility. One of the characteristics of a founder, I guess, is also the naivety. Like, not knowing enough um, to to believe in your stupid uh, uh, visions of the future. And if you knew enough, like, if you knew every detail of what would happen, you probably wouldn't have jumped into that risk taking. So I think every risk taker is somewhere between that naive, not knowing enough, and stays at a higher level than someone who's a detail-oriented engineer who knows every single details about that. So they will never take that risk.
Mm.
When I started CogniCor, my husband told me that, uh, Sindhu, do you know that less than 1% of the companies succeed, and you need to have all of this, like, capabilities and all of this team, everything, the market conditions to be successful. I knew nothing about any of these things. And because I did not know, I did not believe him. Or, like, I decided I don't care. And I decided to jump into it. If I knew what I know now, I probably never would have started this company. So I think it is a blessing in disguise. Like, I really wanted to, follow my passion, and I have always done that, no matter what the risks are. And Not knowing enough was one of the blessings that I had. I don't know if every founder would say that, but for me, it was one of the biggest things that allowed me to having the background I had. I had a PhD in AI with no business background. I had some exposure to enterprise working, but um, other than that, nothing, no network. So having my background, believing in the vision, it was impossible for me to start a company if I knew more. So I would say, well done,
Well, it's inspirational, and it sounds like you have a lot of people on the team who are really happy you didn't know back then, what you know now, because they may not be building CogniCor. So congrats. Last question before we wrap up. Anyone in your career or network who's had a significant impact on you and your life that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I do have a few people that I think a lot of people have influenced and helped me in this journey. It was I wouldn't say it was easy. So it was really a lot of hard work, continued, sustained determination. So everything that goes into persistence, that goes into the founder's life. And without these people, it wouldn't have been even possible. So I would like to start with my parents, my family, who had an amazing amount of belief in me, in the sense, they let me be myself and take any kind of risks that is possible. My father told me, after when I was 15 years old, just go out and um, go outside and go to the big cities and learn and all that. And usually people don't do that in our in our small hill station village. So he just kind of threw me out of the house almost, and kind of made me fly. So I think one of his words that I would always remember is live simply, have higher level of thought. So that was always something that I live by. Always have a simple life, but your thought should always be at a higher level. um, uh, that was one. I would always respect my family for giving that opportunity. I don't think everybody would get that opportunity. One of the other people, when I came to the US, there was a VC firm that really took us into their fold. They are called 630 Ventures, and Atul Kamra is the managing director. He has a very, very calm manner, and you would think he's a quiet person, but everything that he does is very, very strategic. So if he might, call me up and say, Sindhu, just talk to that person, or just reach out to this firm. And I wouldn't find any reason why he's saying that, but once I did 6 steps down the line, I would realize how it all connected. So one of the strongest strategy person that I have seen in the and I think having that ability to make those connectivity was amazing. So these are two people that I would say has hugely influenced. There are a lot of people that helped me, but I just wanted to shout out to these two.
Well, it sounds like they have something in common, and they both have a tremendous amount of confidence in you. And it sounds like for great reason. Sindhu, thank you again. If there are any members of our audience who would like to get a hold of you, how can they find you?
They can reach out to me, Sindhu at cognicor.com, or go to the website, just contact us. LinkedIn is amazing, so I always respond on LinkedIn. So these are easy ways to connect.
Fantastic. And again, for the benefit of our audience, Sindhu Joseph, founder and CEO of CogniCor. Again, Sindhu, appreciate your time and sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you so much. It was amazing to be here.
My pleasure. And again, I'm your host, Kristian Marquez, founder, CEO of Finstrat Management. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Innovators and Investors Podcast. Take care. Kristian Marquez here. Thank you so much for listening to the Innovators and Investors Podcast. If you're a successful founder or an investor who would like to be on the podcast, please visit podcast.finstratmgmt.com. If you know someone that would be a great guest, please tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Innovators and Investors. I'd love to see your posts and suggestions. We're regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you catch each new episode, please subscribe to the Innovators and Investors Podcast. And your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and it means a lot to me and my team. Would you like to know more? Go to our website, finstratmgmt.com, or follow us on LinkedIn or on X. Our handle is @finstratmgmt. This is Kristian Marquez. Thank you for listening. Until next time.